everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new here. For the video today, I wanted to sit down and go through some updates since my surgery, my hysterectomy, which I had just shy of 6 months ago. I have previously made 2 videos after my surgery, one at the 1 week mark and then also one at 4 weeks post-op, which I will link up above and down below. I would recommend you watch those prior to this one since I won't be addressing everything again. This is just more so the 6-month updates since that previous video. So with that being said, I'm just going to get into explaining what I have noticed in these past couple months since my last update. Now I've got my list in front of me here, just some points I wanted to mention so I don't miss anything, but I guess the main thing I wanted to start on, and this is a bit of a retread to the previous videos, I think the biggest thing is the fact that my life has improved so much. I was in so much pain before, and to experience life more or less pain-free now is just shocking. There are moments where I've had different levels of discomfort in my abdomen for different reasons, but not this 10 out of 10 pain that I experienced before. So that alone, it just makes everything so worthwhile, and I really do wish I had done this surgery earlier. It would not have been practical necessarily because I wasn't at that stage in my life where I could fully commit to this, and I guess I waited for my health insurance, all these sorts of things. So practically I did it as early as I could, but looking back, I wish I was able to live pain-free earlier, if that makes sense. With that being said, there have been some hurdles along the way post-op, and one specific point that prompted me to make this video now I briefly touched on in my previous video, which was just a vlog. Again, I'll link that up above. I know I mentioned in this previous video how I was still bleeding up to 3 months post-op, and I didn't go in depth there, but bringing it up then kind of prompted me to make this video. That's probably the biggest thing that I noticed in these 6 months, but I'll go in detail now. Basically, I noticed I was spotting. As I continued to stop bleeding, there was still spots of blood here and there, and I was really unsure why. I thought obviously the wound should be healed by now. I had no other weird symptoms, no pain, but I would continue to spot, both at random moments and more so after being intimate with my husband. And I was really stumped. I decided I did need to go back and see the doctor at a certain point after just hoping it would stop. Obviously it didn't on its own. And after I booked the appointment to see my doctor again, I had about a couple days in between booking and going to see him, and throughout those days I really stressed. I ended up getting good reassurance from my doctor at the appointment because he did mention my cause for bleeding or spotting was something that isn't too unusual, but it's not too common either. Something called granulation tissue, which had grown where my incision was, basically where my cervix used to be. That was sewn closed, and this tissue kept bleeding randomly and when it was agitated. So at that appointment, when I saw my doctor, he was able to remove it, and he explained to me sometimes it is just burnt off and sometimes it is cut off. I actually had probably about the tip of my fingertip here, because I saw it in the jar afterwards, that he needed to cut off. It did hurt a little bit, but didn't require any numbing because it's not actual sensitive tissue, if that makes sense. It's just kind of dead tissue or scar tissue type thing. And after it was cut off, he burnt the area as well, just with something called, I think he said caustic sticks, but they look like little matchsticks. It was really weird. He lit them and then sort of let the smoke do its thing, and apparently that would stop everything. He sent the tissue sample to the lab, and obviously that came back fine. And I also went for a follow-up appointment. Again, that was all good. He just wanted to check things hadn't grown back, and they hadn't. So long story short, that worked out. It was just a potential side effect to the surgery, which all things considered, it was quite minor. The spotting was quite minor to begin with, but he did say if I didn't come in, it would probably still happen because that flesh would still be there and bleeding as and when it wanted to. But the point I'm trying to make now is that it's all good, and I suppose I just wanted to mention that in case it's something other people experience. A few other points of note would be the fact that for a while my tummy area where I had my incisions and just my lower abdomen in general was quite tender. I feel pretty comfortable now. I'm able to lie on my stomach. I've had massages. I have gotten back into the gym, I can run again, I walk my dogs, and I think I've shown before how I put my leash around, their leash sort of tied to my body around my waist, and all of those things feel completely normal. So functioning day to day without the pain is obviously good, but apart from that, the things that I do aren't any different to before. It just took me a little while to get back into the swing of things. And on the note of my sort of lower abdomen and scars being sensitive, the scars still feel a little bit, I guess, thick or sort of tender when I touch them if I'm massaging them, which I am trying to get into the habit of doing, just to fade them and sort of break down the scar tissue. For a while that was hurting more so at the start, but now I'm getting used to it and I think the scars are softening. I think now I'm going to show you my scars. I'll make sure I leave a timestamp up above if you want to skip seeing this, and if you want to see how they're looking now, obviously keep watching. So I'll give you a sec to skip ahead if you don't want to see. Alright, now that they're gone, I'm just going to show you. I always feel a bit weird about doing this. So I think overall my scars are looking pretty good. Sorry, I'm just going to zoom you in. So overall I think my scars are looking pretty good. My belly button has looked more or less the same since my first surgery. It's always been a bit more horizontal. I just have more of a defined scar down there. But the scars on my hips are less noticeable now. They're just kind of a purple. I have been really careful to put zinc on them when I go to the pool. This one's a little bit darker as well. It's where I had my drain, and at some point in healing, after the drain was removed, the incision did open up a bit, which I think I mentioned at the time. Looking at my stomach now, I do really wish that they were symmetrical, which is a weird thing to think about. Obviously that's not a priority for the doctor, just something I think whenever I see my stomach. It's really random as well, but I wanted to mention, out of my whole abdomen area, my belly button felt the most sensitive. Like if I'd accidentally bump it or something, it hurt more than the other areas, but that has since subsided and now everything feels pretty normal. Apart from that, there have been some other things I've noticed in this time, just slight niggling pains on my ovaries, and I'm not sure if this was ovarian cysts. I'm pretty sure it was, but I can't say for certain since I didn't have ultrasounds at the time. I just had all the telltale signs of cysts that I have experienced before. I've had them on both ovaries during this time, so I'm not sure if that's something that I will get checked out next time it happens. It's more so annoying than anything, and eventually the pain does go away, but it's not a sharp or super heavy pain. It's just a small annoyance, if that makes sense. But that's something I experienced before and still have now, which I guess makes sense. Obviously I chose to keep my ovaries, they were pretty healthy, so that is something that I might notice from time to time, but isn't too frustrating. If the pain gets to be too much or too common, I will go and see my doctor about that. The only other little pain that I've noticed has been very random, and I think it's more my mind playing tricks on me, but I've actually had phantom period cramps. I think it's only been twice, but I had the exact same feeling as I did back when I used to have period pains, cramps in my stomach. Obviously, I don't have a uterus anymore, but the pain was so familiar, and I think it must just be my brain playing tricks on me, but that was really weird both times that it happened, because I felt it and then thought about it. I'm like, no, it's not possible, and then the pain went away. Maybe it is just my body used to that sort of feeling, or something else going on, I'm not sure, but it was very weird and I thought I'd mention that as well. Alright, now with that, that's actually the last thing I think I have to mention. So I know this video will be on the shorter side, but I just wanted to thank you so much for watching anyway. I really hope you found it interesting or learned something. If you are going through this experience yourself or about to experience something similar like this, or maybe have a loved one who is going to have this surgery, hopefully you found it helpful. But I will be leaving you here. Before I go, I just wanted to thank you so much for watching. Also, let me know in a comment down below if you have any questions at all regarding endometriosis, adenomyosis, or hysterectomy experience, because I'm sure there's probably things I have neglected to mention, and maybe if you have a question, definitely feel free to ask. But like I said, I will be leaving you here, so hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye!